Ready for math class.
Alright, today we are going to learn how to convert fractions into simplest form. Who can tell me what a fraction is?
It's part of something, part of a whole.
Correct. So, could you tell me what a fraction looks like? Yes.
A number over another number with a line in the middle.
Right, give me an example.
Like 2 over 4. Or
Alright, good.
1 over.
Do 2 over 4. So, looking at this fraction, each means something different. They have a different part. Who can tell me what the top number in a fraction is?
Numerator?
Correct. And then, what about this bottom number? Yes.
Denominator?
Does anyone know what this part of the fraction is called?
The line bar?
Line bar, fraction bar. So, when we are wanting to simplify into fractions into a smaller form, we have to look at our numerator and our denominator and decide if it can be simplified first or if it has to just stay the same. When I say simplest form, we look at the greatest common factor. So, do you know what a greatest common factor is?
The biggest number that they are multiplied or divided by that they have the same.
Right, yes. So, the number can be divided by what the number can be divided by, and they're the same. So, if we're looking at 2/4, does that look like you can simplify that number?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're both divisible by 2.
Correct. So if we divide, so we have 2/4, and we divide them both by 2, what do we get?
1/2.
Correct. So looking at, we're going to do another number. So we have 18/24. Does that look like it could be smaller?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is prime and composite numbers. So a prime number is a number that can only be divisible by 1 in itself, and a composite number can only be can be divided by more than just one in its, or multiplied by 1 in itself. So that's another way. It's important to know what your prime numbers and your composite numbers are, so then you're able to determine if a number can even be simplified. So for example, if we have 5 7s, are these both prime numbers?
Yeah.
So if they're both prime numbers, can we simplify?
No.
Correct. So we have 18/24. The best way to do it, especially if you're not able to kind of do the multiplication in your head, is to write it down. So we have 18. What are the common factors of 18?
1 and 18, 2 and 9, and then 3 and 6.
Good. And how about 24?
1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6.
Good job. So looking at at the common factors for 18 and 24, what is the greatest?
6.
Correct. So now we divide both numbers by 6, and we have 3 over 4. Can this go any smaller?
No.
So now, let's say we have this 18 over 24, but we forget that we missed that 6 is the greatest common. Can we still do it with any of these smaller numbers?
I always divide by 2.
Right, so we can, but what do you think is going to happen if we don't pick the greatest common factor?
You're gonna have to divide it.
Right. So let's just look at it. Let's look at how much work it will be. So we have 3. So let's divide it by 3. So we'll still get the right answer because then we have 6 over 8. But then we see that 6 and 8 now can be divided. So if we do the factors for 6, we have 1, 2, 3, and 6. And 8, we have 1, 2, 4, and 8. So now what's the greatest common factor of 6 and 8? 2. So now we divide this by 2, and we get 3 over 4. So we have the same answer. They're both 3 over 4, right? But it would just be more work. So that's why it's important to try your best to get the greatest common factor. Does anyone have any questions on that? How to do that?
Why are we doing simplest form?
We're going to get to that next. So, now, say we have us 4. We're here and we're going to have lunch together. And we got a pizza. And this pizza is split up into 8 slices. So we have, let's say we have a medium pizza. Alright? And you're not that hungry. You're not that hungry. You're starving, and I'm not that hungry. So we say to you, you can have 21 24ths of this pizza. But there's 8 slices, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, what? How am I supposed to decide what 21 24ths of this pizza? You could go take the pizza and you can slice each piece to make 24 slices, and then you can go ahead and eat 21 of those little slithers. That's a lot of work. You don't want to do that, right? But we can simplify this 21 over 24. So we find the greatest common factor of the 2. There's not very many for that one. And then for 24, so now what's the greatest common factor?
3.
So we divide both by 3, and we get 7/8. Now, if we have our 8 slice of pizza, how many slices do you get?
7.
Correct. So that's why we want to simplify it, or that's one of the reasons why we would simplify it, because now she knows without trying to slice up the pizza into smaller pieces, or without trying to do all the math, she knows that she can have 7 slices.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we talked about earlier with prime and composite numbers as well. So we know that if we look at a number, we should be able to be similar with our prime and composite numbers and know if a number can be simplified, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
I
keep
like
that
the
in mind.
chart. It helps me to remember.
Good. Miss Shuttle, give me an example. Give me a fraction that we can simplify together.
12 over 100.
That's a good one. All right. 12 over 100. What do we do?
The greatest common factor.
So what is the factors of 12?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12.
And then what are 100 is going to be a lot, but what do you have for 100?
1, 2, and 50, 4, and 25.
10.
You know, and another way, which I forgot to mention too, so if you're trying to find the greatest common factor and you have a big number and you have a small number, look at these numbers of that small number. Because you know, with this big number, your 100 isn't going to be 1. 50, 25, numbers larger than 12 are not going to go into both. So look at it and say, does 1 go into 100? Yes. 1 goes into 100 50 times. Does 3 go into 100? No. Does 4 go into 100? Yes. 25 times. Does 6 go into 100? No. Does 12 go into 100? Does that make it easier? So then you're not going through every single factor of 100? So now looking at these, what is the greatest common factor? 4. Correct. So now we divide by 4, divide by 4. So what's 12 divided by 4?
3.
And what's 100 divided by 4?
25.
So what numbers are these? What are these numbers?
Prime. Well, 1.
3?
Yeah.
3 is prime. And what's 25?
Composite.
Can 3 go into 25?
No.
Correct. So is that in simplest form?
Yes.
Yep.
That was a good one, Miss Shuttle. Thank you. You helped me remember to mention that little trick there. So always keep that in mind as well. How's everyone feeling about these fractions in simplest form? Do you want any more examples?
What about like the 2 big numbers? Like, because then you have to go through all of them.
Okay. So give me an example.
Like 900 over like 1,000.
Oh, wow.
No.
You're not kidding. Okay. 900 over 1,002. Now, did you want to go through these factors? With these ones, it's going to be...
Divide by 2 first.
You're going
Make it
to
smaller.
have to... Yep, we could do that to make it easier instead of going through it. So what is 900 divided by 2?
450.
And then what is 1,002 divided by 2?
501.
Uh-oh. Is that prime?
Do you think we can find any common factors with those?
Probably not.
Didn't get very small.
No. Well, we got smaller.
Well, it's you think it's simplified? Looks like it is, because 501, what goes into 501?
I think so.
That was a hard one.
Yeah, that was. But like Miss Shuttle was saying, like with her rule, you know, she likes to divide it by 2 if she's struggling and doesn't know what else. If it is big numbers like that, so you can try that as well.
Or maybe, like, say you do greatest common factor, but you do it wrong, and if they're both even, then you can keep dividing by 2, right? You don't have to start with 2.
No. But we
Yeah,
want
okay.
to try our best to find the greatest
Greatest
common
common
factor, so
factor.
then it's less work, less time,
Oh, yeah.
less confusion.
Sometimes it takes a long time.
Okay. Now we are going to play bingo.
Yay! Are there prizes?
So this is
Prizes?
yes.
Prizes?
You will get a choice of candy from my candy bin. So here's this. So how this bingo works is I am going to put a fraction up on the board. You need to simplify that fraction. And here's some scrap paper.
Can I use the bottom of my hair?
You can, yes.
Okay.
And then you are going to shade in that box.
Bingo!
Whoever has
Oops.
bingo first wins the candy pot.
Does she have to hold that the whole time we're playing? Okay. All right.
All right.
I just don't want to have an unfair advantage, because I learned this lesson.